Let's check how GitHub Copilot works with JavaScript and especially React.js. There are some examples in the documentation how to use Copilot, but I want to try something a little bit more complicated and more real life. So let's try to give Copilot a little challenge. Let's say I want to fetch 5 images from Unsplash API. And Copilot already suggests me and displays them in the browser. Okay, let's try. So to generate some code with Copilot, there are two ways. You can just click enter and see what it suggests you. And in this case it suggests me nothing. I don't know why, but let's try Control Enter and see which solutions it will offer us. So it gave us few solutions. Let's see. Let's close this thing for now. Let's see what it offers us. So it wrote fetch function. It calls API with get parameter count equal 5, and then it renders images and injects them in your HTML page. So let's try just the first solution. I don't know why it copied multiple times. I guess there is something wrong with my VS Code. So you see this client ID, you have to replace with yours. If you want to try it out, you have to register on Unsplash and get your client ID to use this API. And now let's create an HTML page. And let's also use Copilot for that. Let's write comment page that has div with which ID we want. Yeah, images. Okay, images. And let's try. Okay. Now I'm just clicking tab when I want to accept stuff instead of using Control Enter, but we can just do it faster. We can use Control and Enter, and it generated some strange code to us. Okay, I guess we have to give it a little bit more context maybe, but okay, let's just accept this with the PHP snippet and let's delete PHP. And let's add our script. Just strange that it adds script.js when we have index.js here. That's I think could be more convenient if it analyzes files and adds what we really have, not just some random script.js, but okay, we will replace it manually. And now let's try and open the page and see if it works. Just 1 second, I forgot to replace this with my own ID. So now I replaced it and we got these 5 pictures rendered in our HTML page. It's quite impressive, isn't it? I almost did not write any code myself. I just wrote a couple of comments and it did everything for me. But let's try something else. This time I want to create file AWS.js, and I want to try to fetch an image from S3 bucket from AWS. And let's see if Copilot can do it as well. I will write our comment. Connect to AWS S3 bucket and no, not upload file, but download and save file. And let's see. Okay, it suggests us to import AWS SDK. Let's see code snippets that it can offer us. Oh my god, this is something weird. Does it have something simpler? Okay, I have to turn off air conditioner, it's a bit too cold. Okay, this looks quite acceptable. So let's try. We don't need all these delete file, download file, upload file. We need only download file. Yeah. And let's just call it download file. We need to replace these things with your access key and secret access key. I will do it later. So here, let's take a look what we should pass. We have to pass the bucket. My bucket name is Copilot 12. Then I will pass key. I uploaded one picture, just a logo of Copilot, and it wants us to pass a file name, where to save. Let's save it the same directory and same name. So now I will replace this with my own. And now let's open terminal and let's do yarn init to initialize our package JSON, and then we need to install few things. AWS SDK. Actually, we don't need this. And do we use path? I don't think so. So these things we can delete, and we basically need to install only AWS SDK. Oh, yarn add, of course. And now let's just run it. And you can see file, it appeared here and it was saved. Copilot basically wrote this piece of logic for us, and we just did few changes and it works. Now let's try and see how it works with React.js. So I created a new folder and I'm gonna run create React app here. So we installed create React app. Let's start it. And let's try to create a simple login component. Just a form with a few inputs. Let's call it login JS6. And we write a comment, create login component, and let's see suggestions. Okay, it suggests us to create a class component. I don't want to create class component. Let's see it again, class component again. Okay, let's clarify what we want to do. It seems this is just too common. Okay, it suggests us with login form and login button. Yes, and I also want it to be using React hook form. Yeah, looks good. Let's try. Oh my god, what the fuck is it? Yeah, definitely something goes wrong. I don't want all these imports, of course. Let's try it a different way. Let's give it a little bit more context. Okay. Okay. No, I don't really need to use history, but anyway. Okay, let's start writing something. Okay. What next you will tell me? This looks a bit better. Let's accept this one. I just don't think we need this set state. Let's just leave it as it is and let's get rid of this. Now let's try and see if it works. Let's render it in our React app. We will delete this code and just render our login. And see. Okay, we have to install React hook form. So we installed the library. Let's check again. And we see nothing. Let's go to our console. Okay, we have an error here. Let's check. React hook form. So GitHub Copilot suggests our solution that uses older version of the library, and we have to fix it manually because we have here this old way of registering the field, and now it should be like that. Let's just copy it and change. And let's check again. Cannot read properties of undefined. I think it is also here, should be form state. And now we have our form. Now it works. No errors. So as you see, Copilot did the job, but not 100%. We still have to fix it. But you know, all this artificial intelligence stuff, it constantly learning, and I'm sure after a couple of weeks it will learn to use a newer version of the library. Now let's create a Redux state for our form. Now let's try to create a reducer and actions for our login component. We just write for login state. Yeah, okay, let's try it. And what it created? It created as login success, login failure, logout. Okay, let's accept the first one. But I don't like these strings. Let's change a bit our comment and say create reducer and actions for login state, and let's try. So it suggests us to import actions from different file. What if I don't want to import them? What if I want everything in one file? But okay, let's accept the second one. It imports our login actions. It creates, but I don't like this object assign here. Okay, let's check one more time. Actually, let me try something. Create actions and reducer. We will just change places. And let's see if it makes any difference. Oh yeah, it does. So now it created our actions just in this file, and then it created our reducer, and it even created an async fetch, but I don't want this fetch. I think this solution is okay-ish. So we have our 3 actions, our initial state and our reducer, and even this piece of code that I don't want to be here. As a boilerplate generator for Redux, it works quite well, I have to admit it. And now, as a last but not least, I want to see how Copilot will work with hooks. Let's create one. Let's say we want to create a useFetch hook. It's quite typical. And let's see what it will suggest us. Again, a lot of bullshit. Probably I choose the wrong wording. Let's tell custom hook that uses fetch to get data from API as it suggests us. And now, okay, let's try. I don't want Axios, I want just to use fetch, but it suggests me this Axios. Let's skip it. Again, can we just use fetch, normal fetch? Maybe if I delete this. Yes, now it just uses native fetch. Finally, that's what I wanted to get. Let's try one more hook. Let's use intersection observer custom hook that uses intersection. No, not to get data from the server. What is this bullshit? To detect, yeah. And let's see. Okay, first solution. It looks quite all right. Yeah. Just again, why? Oh, it even adds some tests, but what is this weird shit? I don't know, maybe something is wrong with my idea, why it generates these extra lines, I don't know. So this is quite typical hook that we don't even have to change to use it. I mean, if you don't want to add some extra stuff, that's how I would write it as well. But this is a typical task. So we try to use GitHub Copilot with pure JavaScript, with server-side JavaScript, and with React. And what can I say? I mean, it works fine if you use it for some typical tasks, just to generate some boilerplate. And it is okay if you know what you expect to get, and you can just do some fixes and make this code work. But if you want to create something new that you never actually worked with, GitHub Copilot can give you some code with some bullshit that you don't even know how to fix. So I don't think it's really suitable for real tasks, for real complicated cases. But for prototyping and for generating some boilerplate to save your time, it's quite fine. I don't think I would use it in my everyday work because I don't write too much boilerplate code. I'm more into some very customized stuff, and I don't think Copilot would help me a lot. But maybe you guys will find it useful. And I wouldn't recommend you to use GitHub Copilot if you're a beginner, because it gives you quite random solutions, often with bad practices. For example, it suggested me some code where it was using let instead of const, even if it's not reassigning variables. And if you're a beginner, you will just learn these bad practices, these wrong patterns, and then you will start to use it in your own code that is not good. Instead, better watch this video and see how to become a software developer if you never actually wrote any code.